Hello, hello, 390 Wagon Master here. All right, today in this video, we're going to look at the all-new 2024 President George FCC AM FM single sideband mobile CB radio. Okay, so before I start this review, I want to kind of put this out there to all the naysayers out there. I've been getting a lot of comments. Well, the George is just a regurgitated unit of 980. And, at first glance, one would possibly think that. But these are totally two different animals altogether. So let's just go with some of the basics here, right? They all have the same physical size. The physical dimensions are the same. Mic plugs are roughly in the same place, right? We have our dual control here, our volume squelch. We have channel selector and then clarifier over here. Same thing here, right? Volume squelch, channel selector, and function knob here. And our clarifier. Buttons across the bottom. We have 1, 2, 3, what is this? Four buttons here. And then 1, 2, 3, and then possibly this is where the fourth would be right there. And that's about it. We have the little fake, Allens here that kind of give it that industrial look. And, the 980 is not a bad looking radio. I like how they've eliminated that kind of stuff. They moved the mic connector over and gave us a hot charging USB port. This is a 2 amp charge port here. I really like this feature on a lot of the President radios. When I very first saw that on the first radio I ever saw, I think it was a Connex way back in the day, I'm like, seriously? But especially nowadays with all the electronic devices we have, this is a really nice feature to have, especially if you're, if you got this in an older vehicle that doesn't have very many USB charge ports, or, you got a cigarette lighter issue. Anyway, these things are really nice, absolutely nice to have. As you can see, the display is a lot better. We still have the channel readout, like right here. It still has a little frequency counter. Now, these are non-modifiable, so I don't know why they're putting these on here, but, it is what it is. I guess it's a looked. And then, we have our large scale here for S unit meter and relative power output and all that, whereas we have this. Now, on the 980, the thing with this is that these are just hard to read. Extremely hard to read. I honestly don't think this would be a really good radio for the mobile environment, but that's whatever. That's a personal choice. But anyway, the physical dimension and that rough look is about all these two radios share. They are not the same animal. Okay, lids off. So here's what we have. We have the new President George over here, and the Bearcat 980. As you can see, again, totally different animals. The dimensions of the chassis, height and width, are exactly the same. Depth is deeper on the 980, okay? And obviously we can see that it's a single final here, no heatsink. We have two IRF 520s. Now, I don't have a schematic at the moment, but I'm going to assume one's a driver, one's a final. And then, of course, we got that big heatsink on there, which we'll show you in more detail later on. Now, we have this big old space right here, so honestly, this chassis could have been smaller, and I think President saw that. This board is marked President. We have little tiny micro VRs here, some micro variable resistors here. This is how this radio can be turned up. They can adjust transmit frequency and all sorts of stuff in here, to where none of that is in the President. The President, the adjustments come from the front panel, but frequency adjustments and all that, I haven't found those. I found a bunch of the stuff in the test or maintenance mode, to turn power up, down, modulation up, down, etc., etc. But as far as frequency or any of that kind of stuff, this is basically, and I may be using the wrong terminology, this is a chip-driven radio. So no adjustments can be made, and nothing, on the other hand too, nothing can be knocked out of whack. So it's kind of a double-edged sword. I mean, you really can't do much modification to it, but it can't get messed up either. Less of a chance, in my opinion, for this radio to get a truck stop tune-up hack job. To whereas on this, you know, these get hacked up. So anyway, kind of interesting. One last thing, this is just stamped steel here, very flimsy chassis, little aluminum plate back here to where this is just a one-piece cast aluminum deal here. This is considerably more rugged in my opinion, and look how pretty these things are. These new radios are just clean. All right, let's take a look at the back. Okay, on the underside, again, big difference, big difference. So yeah, the new George is definitely not a regurgitated version of a 980. This is much more refined, and I mean, just right off construction-wise, there's way less to go wrong with this radio than the old 980. Okay, so we're going to take a look at the front panel again. Like I said earlier in the video, we have volume squelch. This has ASC, automatic squelch control. Our 6-pin microphone jack, USB port. We have multi-function buttons here along the bottom. We have mode, memory, scan, dual watch, ANL noise blanker, emergency monitor, and then of course the other features are listed above. This has CTCSS and DCS encoding, skip scan, high filter cut. Think of it as like turning down your treble control on a home stereo. This would be, when you hit this button and hold it, it would be like going from, say, 5 or 6 o'clock on a treble control to like straight up flat. Anyway, RF gain, mic gain, the other dual function, actually a triple function button here. And then over here, we have Talkback, and then our function button that works on a few of these, but not all. We have NRC, noise reduction circuitry in it. This works for both transmit and receive, either independently or together, which is kind of interesting. CB weather channel, and then of course our Vox control and a noise gate for transmitted audio. Over here we have a clarifier, just a single pot clarifier, and it is very slow tracking, which is really nice. So if you guys have maybe an older radio or whatever that you just barely touch them and they move all over, this one does not do that. You have quite a bit of movement. I'm not really sure how far up or down it goes. I'm gonna say maybe just like 400 or 500 hertz, not very much. And then of course our channel selector, which is a major upgrade over the 980. The 980's channel selector is kind of wonky, and this is a nice positive click. You can't mess it up. It won't overshoot or do anything like that. And then of course, also this being a multi-function button, this is, you push and hold it, and this is how you get into your memory. And I have this set on orange right now, and I have it set down kind of low because it can wash out. But I'm going to guarantee you'd be able to see this in almost any vehicle. And just so you know, I'm going to do a ton of videos on this radio. I'm going to show you these different features, functions and features on here, one at a time. And if I was to do that in this video would be like a half hour long or more, past where we are right now. So anyway, we're not gonna do that. I have an RF gain readout here. It tells us where we're at in the RF gain aspect, and it's kind of neat. This thing's got a really strong receiver. It's almost like you get up past the 3/4 mark, it's almost like it has a preamp, but it's really gainy. The radio's a really gainy radio. Another thing I like is the independent ANL and noise blanker. We have noise blanker. Let's see here. Let's go into AM so I can show you that. On AM we have noise blanker. Hit the right button, Mike. Noise blanker, ANL, noise blanker on its own, ANL noise blanker, and push and hold, and we get high cut, various aspects of taking out noise. Now on single sideband, we only have one, and that's just noise blanker, and then of course we can high cut it. Now this has a tone control here for receive, no transmit tone control or anything like that, but you don't really need it. It's this radio sounds just fine. We can toggle between a frequency readout here when you're keyed up, or what your SWRs are, which is kind of neat. We have a running voltage display here. So anyway, like I say, I'll do a video on all of the menu functions for sure. In using this radio, I've been really hitting this thing hard for a little over 48 hours. And here on the base station, the radio is extremely stable, like, you know, ICOM Kenwood Yaesu type stable as far as frequency shift goes on single sideband. The transmit audio is great. I get a lot of good audio reports, and you can kind of tailor that a little bit with the gate here. This will take a little bit of the noise gate will take a little bit of your background noise out of it, and then of course the NRC. It actually kind of acts like the Digimic. This is like having a built-in Digimic, if you guys are familiar with the President Digimic. And yeah, it's pretty cool. There's a lot of cool features on here. I'm old school, so how does this radio compare to, say, like a Cobra 148? So as you guys know, I'm kind of like into old vintage radios, you know, Cobra 2000s, 148s, President Adams, 138 XLRs, old school TRC 449s and the like, you know, President Grants and stuff. And those, you know, those receivers are 40, 45 years old. And for the most part, unless they've been butchered, they're really, really nice. Now, that being said, I'm used to that sound. Okay, well, that sound in pretty much all of these new modern radios, we're never going to have that sound again. These radios have a higher noise floor. They have a totally a different characteristic in the way they react to received signals. And this is just something we're just going to have to basically start getting used to at this point. This radio is a good overall radio. I think it's really durable. I mentioned earlier that the frame on the 980 was just kind of a flimsy steel frame. Like I said earlier, this is a cast aluminum frame, and so it's going to really hold up in off-road use, or maybe in a truck or something like that for you truckers out there. This has Vox capabilities, so you could put a little visor mic on, and you know, like the cell phone kits of the old days, or maybe like car stereos, you know, when they have like the Bluetooth adapter, you can put something like this up on your visor and plug directly into the back of here, and run this as sort of a hands-free operation, which I think is pretty cool. And I'll do some demonstrations with that. Yeah, just a really super flexible radio. Now, it's non-modifiable, and there's a lot of folks out there that are saying, well, you know, you could modify these like the George II, the European versions and all that kind of stuff. Well, no, you can't. You will not be able to do that. It's not a clip the white wire trick or anything like you used to be able to do, or jump a wire or anything like that. These are actually, the chipset in here is programmed, and you will not be able to do this. Now, this is early. We're going into 2024 right now, and maybe if you're watching this video 5 or 10 years from now, yeah, there's probably somebody that's going to have some device out there. But I'm saying, as far as right now goes, these are just non-modifiable, and I do not know if we're even going to be able to unlock the clarifier. So everything is straight up 12 o'clock on this radio. There's really no need to mess with anything. So would this be good for the hardcore CBeer? Yeah, maybe as a backup radio, or a radio you just don't want to have to be a compulsive knob twiddler. You know, like maybe just plug it in, put it on your bench, and run it, enjoy it, and forget about it, you know. And as far as like the newbie goes, you can't get into any trouble with this radio. You're just not going to get into any trouble. You can't go out of band. You won't be stuck in 10 meters. You won't be transmitting somewhere where you're not supposed to be, and all of that kind of stuff. So anyway, it has, you know, you can go either way on this thing not being modifiable, but anyway, like I say, for right now, we're not going to be able to do anything to it. And I'm not really sure where these are selling at right now. I think they're somewhere between like $275, maybe just under $300, somewhere in there. So it's kind of spendy. However, you know, this isn't just some cheap Chinese radio. Not with this construction. It's just not a cheap Chinese radio. So is it worth the money compared to an export? I think that's kind of depends on how you look at it. You know, the exports, you can go all over the place and do lots of magical, cool stuff with it. But I don't think you're ever going to really have the backup for those radios like you will with the President. You know, President's been around for a long time, and they're really not going to go anywhere. They're like worldwide, right? So I think parts availability and stuff like that's going to be pretty easy to get for quite a long while. All right, we're going to take a look at the back of this radio, and then we're going to do some power measurements and wrap it up. Okay, so on the rear panel, we have a Teflon style SO239 connector screwed into the chassis, not riveted. We have our little, I think this is a 2.5 millimeter mono jack here for your Bluetooth for your Vox microphone. We have a 3.5 millimeter jack and a 3.5 millimeter external speaker jack. Located underneath here, we have the all famous 3-pin Uniden plug, which has been around forever, and then a pretty massive heatsink. And I just wanted to show you that heatsink is not just mounted to the radio, it's cast in there. This is like a one-piece deal here. While we're here, I also wanted to show you that behind the front panel control, how clean that setup is. That is just real nice and clean. Come on, camera. Let's go here. It's not liking it. But anyway, you get the gist of it. And then, like I say, really super rugged construction overall. No need for the braces or anything like the 980 has. The 980's got all these braces and stuff, and this is just really a really easy chassis to tweak, if you ask me. So anyway, the George is not like that. Couple IRF 520s in there, and yeah, this is a pretty beefy unit. This kind of reminds me of maybe like a commercial UHF VHF type radio as far as the construction goes. Okay, so there's that, and let's do some power measurements. Let's get into the fun stuff. Okay, so we're on channel 20, and we're going to start in AM. And I am using the Digimic just because I actually like the sound characteristic of that Digimic versus the stock mic. The stock mic on these sound great, but I get the stellar reports on this. And as a side note, you could use a power mic on this radio, but these things are so limited, and you're going to see that in one of these measurements I'm going to show you, that it's not worth it. Just either use the supplied microphone or a Digimic, and I like this one the best on this radio, as well as the McKinley 2 FCC. And stay tuned, because I'm going to do a head-to-head video. I'm going to do like a shootout video between that new McKinley 2 FCC and this one, and I may even include one of those 980s as well. All right, so let's do some power measurement. Please understand, this radio is not modified. This is right out of the box. I have not touched any of the service menus or anything like that to jack it up. So I'm just going to tell you right now, I'm getting about 85–90% modulation. It's very good, clean audio. I'm currently on channel 20 in the AM mode, and we are going to do some power readings here. So basically, I have a 100-watt slug in here. Each one of these segments is 2 watts. This is 10 watts and 20. We're going to read the lower scale, okay? I am in RMS, non-feel-good wattses, so let's give a AM carrier down. Factory out of the box, 4 watts, 4 watts. By the way, I'm on a dummy load, so we're not interfering with anybody. Okay, 4 watts, and let's just do a little bit of hello radio. out of the box, 85, 90% modulation. We're getting an RMS peak reading of just a hair over 5 watts, which is, you know, that's pretty darn respectable. We'll put it into PEP feel good wattses, and let's see what we got here. Go hello 1 2 3, hello 1 2 3, hello radio, hello 1 2 3, and you can see that limiter kicking in. Hello, there it went. It gave me a peak. Hello, look at that. That's the right frequency. So anyway, we're up over 20 watts, 24, 25 watts, somewhere in that. You get the right frequency. So there you go. That's not bad. Just normal talking without really getting into it. Again, I'm using the Digimic, and we're consistently banging 14, 16, 18 watts. PEP, feel good wattses. Let's go over to single sideband. Now, I'm not going to take an FM reading because they are exactly the same, minus a forward swing. All right, single sideband. Hello, radio. 1 2 3. Hello, radio. 1 2 3. And we're currently just a hair above 20 and under 20. So I'm going to take that. Hello, radio. There's that limiter kicking in. So it's doing its job. When we're just talking naturally, normally, no problem, we're getting a pretty good wattage reading. Hello, but there it goes. It knocks down when you do that. Now, remember, that is with the factory limiter kicked in. Stay tuned. I'll do some hopped up. I'll do some power measurements when the radio's hopped up a little bit. But I just wanted to show you guys what this thing's doing out of the box. That's in PEP, Feel Good Wattses readings. And by the way, that is what they are rated in. So let's do an RMS rating. And here we go. Here's RMS. Hello, radio. 6 watts. 6 watts RMS. So not bad. That's pretty good. You know, that's a single IRF 520 working that. So I'm liking that. And it has good audio. Not a problem. Okay. There you go, guys. Okay, so we're going to wrap this video up. So my overall feeling here is I think the George FCC is going to make a nice radio. I'm really excited to see what comes down the road later on. If people figure out different mods to like maybe unlock that clarifier. If somebody does come out with the mod, there's some really good techs out there. So I'm sure there's going to be people working overtime to try to get this thing to go out of band. Because, you know, the price point on it, to me, is just a hair high for a non-modified radio, etc., etc. However, in my opinion, I think it's built pretty rugged, so I don't really... I don't think it's going to fall apart on you or anything like that. So anyway, lots of features, lots of wild stuff on this radio. And stay tuned on this channel for more. I'm going to drive you guys nuts with some independent videos on the various features, but I thought I would just give you the basic overview on the George FCC, and I will leave a link, a factory link down below as well, and for giggles, I'll leave an Amazon link down below. You can click on that if you decide you want to buy from them. Now, I must say, I would rather see you actually support a local CB shop. Anyway, yeah, I think the FCC radio here is going to be in there for a while. I think it's going to make its mark out there in the CB market. So anyway, please leave questions or comments down below. If you have not yet subscribed to this channel, please consider doing so. Thanks for watching, and y'all have a good one. Cheers.